What's up, people? Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. We're here for another episode of Bonding Time. I'll let
You,
our co- I'll let our host introduce ourselves. It is me, Patrick, Ramon Patrick.
I'm
Um,
John.
Greenwich. Wait, sorry. Why say that again, John?
Ooh.
Go for it.
I'm
I
Greenwich.
already introduced myself.
I'm David.
Oh wow!
What?
I'm getting more people on my side.
Oh no, I don't like
Make it a
this.
lot.
I don't like this. We need to
No,
restart
make it a
this.
lot.
No,
Stop and start again.
because we're not talking about a James Bond movie technically. So
Oh, well.
I save my intro for the real.
I
thing.
am really
Ooh.
glad that you started with that, Dave, because you know what? When we started this, I wasn't inclined to agree with you. I actually full-heartedly agree with you now. This is not going to count towards.
We'll save it the comments until we get into it. So introductions are in. Let's start with the opening, guys.
Well,
What do you,
well, here's the thing, though, right? I think that we should establish that now before we go any further. We can use the same criteria or whatever for the discussion, but I think that we need to establish now. This is a outlier. This is not. Well, I guess we could rank it. Well, not rank it. We can rate it, but don't rank it because it's not part of the thing.
I mean, I could
it's
rank
not-
it, but
I
it's never
agree.
gonna beat any of the official Bonds.
No, I think that we should rank it outside, or just
it's true.
like not
It's true.
rank it. Maybe we could rank it in terms of like where we think that it should be.
Dead
But
last.
this isn't movie 12, right? I mean movie 13. This is
Yeah.
movie nothing.
This is
This
movie
does not
12.
count.
This is like
Huh?
the side plot, the side mission.
Actually, if you want, this could be what number was Thunderball? Number 4? Number 3?
4.5, 4.5.
Yeah,
4B.
this could be like the addendum.
This
is
this is James Bond in the worst timeline.
oh, cha. Alternate universe James Bond.
Alternative universe James Bond. There you go.
Yeah, but I just want to like make it clear this is not part of, for me at least, this is definitely not part of, this is not movie 13. This is movie B. C, probably Z. No,
Kick it. All right, so kick it off, Ramon. Let's go.
And with that rousing introduction, let's hear what you guys thought about the openings.
Right. Your turn, Chris.
Hey, I mean, the opening was, yeah, the opening I thought was okay. It was a little unexpected. I didn't expect it to turn into a training stunt for Bond. I actually thought it was, him in the real world. So, I mean, that was a good little twist in the beginning because I thought it was actually real. The theme song, yeah, it wasn't really memorable.
I'm gonna remember it. I'm just not gonna like it.
But I mean, and also the title of the movie I thought was fine. Never Say Never Again. I think it's very clever. I mean, it actually does sound like a Bond title. Like to me, that sounds like something I would normally hear. And it kind of harks back to you never thought you would see Sean Connery as Bond again. So I mean, I thought at least the title of the movie was clever. The song is kind of forgettable, and I actually thought the opening scene was fine. Actually, I actually thought the movie started off kind of okay. It looked like the movie was going to be something decent in the beginning.
And with that, I'm going to squeeze in and actually agree with you there, Chris, because it did harken back to literally most of Sean Connery's introductions where he's in the field, he gets killed, and then we find out, what's happening, what's the situation with Bond at this point in time, so on and so forth. So I thought the beginning was interesting. Theme song, forgettable. It seemed like a Bond song.
Yeah.
A B Bond song, but
yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with the beginning. As Chris said, it started, let's see, maybe after half of the movie, it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
this is an okay Bond.
yeah.
And yeah,
It wasn't like egregious or anything.
Excuse me.
changed. But what do you think, John?
I thought it was at best mediocre. And the fact that I didn't realize how much I would miss an opening credits. But the minute that they didn't do opening credits, I was like,
was
oh,
strange.
this is a piece of crap. It was bad from there. And the opening itself, the opening scene, since there were no opening credits, we can't like rate that. The opening scene just felt really fake. And I think the biggest thing that like popped out to me, I was like, holy crap, he got old.
Yeah.
And that was really jarring. That was really unfortunate to see, because it was like it really did look like an old man trying to like reclaim his glory, and it's really not working out. And that's more than anything else. I didn't enjoy the opening because there was no opening credits, but the opening scene, I thought it was okay. It was just really like, holy crap, he got old. And that was like my first thought, and I was like working with that for a little while, and I was just like looking to see, because his hair looked like if it had been dyed. I don't know if it had been dyed. It looked like if it had been dyed. He just looked old. And throughout the movie, like coming back to that, is like throughout the movie, they were like, he was like constantly taking off his clothes, and they were constantly like, they really like try to amp up the sex appeal here, and like,
I will admit, no, he did establish that situation where like, all right, let me not go into that. That was
no,
inappropriate.
because there was a point where they where like, I think it was a nurse, or
no, there was legit a point, I think, where he jumped in the water. He was wearing a shirt, and then all of a sudden it was gone.
yeah, I think that I'm pretty sure that I noted that as well. But there was someone in the movie, I can't remember it. It might have been one of the agents or something, and they're like, yeah, just give them more gratuitous sex and violence. And I was like, oh, you know what you're doing. And then it was just like, all right, well, the funny part is they were in on the joke, but it was a really sad joke. It was just a very sad joke after a while.
Not gonna lie, I did think this was kind of a parody of Bond. Because the fact that they had Nigel Small Fawcett, Mr. Bean in it. And he was the one that made that comment about...
No, it was Q that made the comment about gratuitous.
It was Q, yeah.
Sex and violence.
Yeah. It was Q. Dude, when I saw him, Rowan Atkins, that's his name? Is that his name?
Sorry, Rowan Atkins.
Yeah. Rowan Atkins? Dude, I got so excited because I think that he's a great actor, and I think that there was so much potential for him to be funny, but he couldn't even get a laugh out of me in this, man. Like, it was rough.
See, I see this more as like a prequel to Johnny English.
This is true. I agree with that. Even with his his code name, Little Fawcett. Was it?
Dude, yeah, that was rough. But yeah. I think it was, so opening credits non-existent, opening song not good, opening scene itself okay. So I feel like if that's a solid D, like when you like rank everything.
Fair.
If I were to just rank the opening scene against every single Bond opening scene, not including the title sequence, this would be dead last for me.
No, this would be mediocre. This would be
if it had a song sequence.
Take the song sequence out. Just the opening scene. I can't think of one Bond opening that is as bad as this. The only one that really comes close is Diamonds. I think like Diamonds and this are kind of on par in terms of opening scene.
Diamonds didn't. What happened in Diamonds? They were in the shuttle.
No, Bond was chasing Blofeld.
And he dropped him in.
Right. Yeah, that was awful. No, this was definitely better than that for me.
Yeah,
is
I
definitely
agree.
better than that.
This
I
was
agree.
better.
And
I agree.
there was, which one was it? Was it Moonraker?
Yeah, but
Where-
Moonraker had the amazing skydiving. So for me, that's like almost one of my favorites.
Oh, I can't remember which one it was where they were in a shuttle and the shuttle got swallowed up.
You Only Live Twice.
You know,
But
You
that
Only Live
also
Twice.
had some cool things with Bond.
I will
Yeah,
admit,
again.
it was
But
decent.
I remember that opening being like, "Oh, this is gonna be a crap movie. Cool. This, and you know the thing about it, right? Is that like from the beginning, this movie took itself so seriously, trying to be funny at certain points, but took itself pretty seriously. And it was like, dude, I
Mhm.
cannot take you seriously at all.
Fair. So with that, we're gonna segue in. I guess those were the general comments. We're now into the Bond girl, guys.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
So
Let us start with Dave. Yeah.
Domino, I hated Domino in this movie. Kim Basinger cannot compare to, I think her name is Claudette, but Domino in Thunderball was like one of my upper Bond girls, and Domino
For
in this
sure.
movie is just terrible. I will say Fatima Plush is not as good as Fiona, but similar kind of character.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her. She's like
Mhm.
outlandish. Like
Yeah.
the way she didn't play her part very seriously at all. And I thought that worked out well. I enjoyed her.
I will admit, I did enjoy Fatima. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna hop in next if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
I did enjoy Fatima, but I'm gonna disagree with you, Dave. I think Domino was decent. She's definitely not as good as the Domino in the previous one, but I thought her portrayal was believable. Like she was believable throughout.
I didn't
You go.
find so. But
Yeah, for Domino, I mean, honestly, I thought the acting in this movie was kind of shit. So all around.
How
Fair,
do you really
fair.
feel? How do you really feel, Chris?
I mean, the reason I say that is just like some of the lines that I wish I could provide some specific examples, but it's like sometimes when they delivered the lines, it just didn't.
It
It's just like
did
they were
not
just
hit.
saying them. It just didn't hit. Yeah, exactly. It just didn't hit. It was just like they were just saying the lines. But and I found
Truth
like
is, I think the cinematography took away from it as well, though, because there were moments where they just zoomed in on the faces. And I'm like, was this necessary?
Here's what,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're clearly trying to set up something.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you noticed the cinematography because there were some moments in it that were absolutely beautiful. Like the way that it was shot when Fatima was walking into Spectre, I actually really, really liked that the way that scene was shot. It just looked really, really good. And whether they focus on the skull and Fatima, the directing was clunky. The editing was clunky because she was standing up there for like 5 seconds, just standing up there. And that was kind of weird, but it looked pretty. Like if that were still, it looked pretty.
Would you believe that the person who directed this probably directed one of all three of y'all's favorite movie of all time?
So, you know why I think that that's interesting is because I think that that speaks to when someone's trying to prove a point. And I think that that's this movie's problem is that Sean Connery and whoever else came back, the director, and whoever else came back from
trying to
other
stick
productions,
it to somebody else.
Yeah, they were trying to be like, oh, these were my ideas, and I'm gonna show that they work, and they don't. They just don't work. So it's an awkward movie as a result.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I mean the reason I brought up the acting. So I mean, actually, I'm thinking back now. I don't think Domino. Actually, her acting wasn't too bad. She might have actually been okay in this movie. You know, I mean, she's pretty much like a mediocre Bond girl. I mean, she didn't really.
Yeah, not the worst, not the best.
Not
definitely.
the worst. Yeah, not the worst. I mean, she wasn't like a
not in the top half, but not
yeah,
the best.
Yeah, not like God tier. I mean, she wasn't like a damsel in distress completely, because she does kind of save Bond in the end. But then also for most of the movie, she wasn't really doing much.
I know I was fine with that because most of the movie she was Largo's girlfriend,
Yeah,
and then it switched and she was plotting with them with Bond.
yeah, and I just didn't see any chemistry. Her
That was my
chemistry
issue too.
with Sean Connery was okay, but wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't as good as I've seen in other Bond movies. The chemistry like that
Bond
he's had.
didn't have chemistry with any girls in this movie at all.
Yeah,
I think he had some chemistry with Fatima.
No, I
Not
think Fatima.
Fatima.
I think Fatima was just like so charismatic that
Nah, fam.
I don't think they had chemistry per se.
Chemistry, but I will say she did have chemistry with that random lady who was fishing. Like, that was on point.
Actually,
That was on point.
He had like a little nice funny rapport going on with her. But yeah, for Fatima as a femme fatale, I liked her. You know, I agree with Dave there. I think she got a bit too outlandish at times for me. I know that's what they were going
In
for.
the very end, it was just like, whoa, I didn't see the lead up to this, but believable. Sorta.
Believable. Oh wow.
Sorta.
Okay.
Sorta.
Cool.
I mean, she was just a bit too I don't know, strange. I mean, that's what they were going for, but it just stretched my suspension of disbelief a bit too much at times. But I liked her the best because she was the most interesting. She was the most interesting, and I was always, there wasn't much else to like, that I really truly liked about the movie. So I was always waiting for her to get back on screen because I was like, all right,
Yeah.
what next crazy thing is she gonna do?
So technically, since Bond did, have a foray with her, she's technically also a Bond girl. So
no, I mean, like, she could be your Bond girl if you want.
She's your Bond girl of this movie.
But I feel
first for the villains.
Chris said it well. She's the femme fatale, like what we call the femme fatale for most of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Domino, mediocre. Fatima, nice.
So Fatima for Chris, Fatima for Dave, Fatima for me as well. What about you, John?
Well, I hated Fatima. I genuinely, like, in the beginning, I had so much hope for her. Like, her walking, her strutting in, I was like, God damn, this girl is hot. She was like,
and the costumes.
Shit.
Sorry, her costumes on point too.
For sure. She was so sexy throughout this movie, but she was so incompetent. Every time that she tried to kill him, it just made me just. And I didn't really laugh throughout this movie. And I know that they tried to give you jokes, but like I just did not laugh throughout this movie. And it just got to me. It just like when the first time that she didn't kill him, and I thought it was like maybe it would come around to be like she didn't want to kill him. She liked him. She didn't want to kill him after all. But in the end, I just like, wow, you're just incompetent.
Nah, fam. The bomb under the bed. Pretty effective if he was actually in that room.
Yeah,
just saying.
If he were in that room. And it's literally her job to know if he's in that room or not. And that really
she was following him. Yeah,
that really pissed me off. In the end, when it came down to it, where she wanted him to write her a note saying that she's the best that she ever.
Crazy.
Yo, that just that made me so angry because I really feel like if they were wasting a really potentially decent character. Like I said, because I really liked her from the beginning when she walked in. Like I just thought she was hot shit, and I was like, yeah, go for it. Like you get in there, And I thought that she would be more threatening, and then just the fact that she was so incompetent pissed me off.
So that means your Bond girl is?
Well, yeah. Domino has to be the Bond girl for me, just because she fits the idea of the Bond girl for me. I think Fatima is the femme fatale. Domino is the Bond girl. I actually think that Kim Basinger, whatever. Passenger. Yeah. I think that she acted well with what she was given. I just feel like if she wasn't given a lot. And the worst part about it is that, and I think Largo and Domino suffered from this is that these aren't new characters to us. These are characters that we've seen before. So when you have the comparison, like I think
It don't
before,
stand
if
up.
I didn't have the comparison for Domino, I'm like, yeah, she was fine. But since I know what the other Domino was like, I was just like, well, you are just doing nothing with this. Like Domino was such a strong, competent person, and she reminded me of BB, like because the whole thing that where BB was like dancing before, and then she would just like pop up and like do her little thing, and she would go away. I didn't even the so Domino, the original, when she found out that her brother was dead, she was like lit. She was fired up. She was like, "Listen, everyone's gonna die," you know. And this Domino was, I know my brother's dead, but like,
No,
I
no,
don't
no. But
want you.
I believed it because this Largo seemed batshit crazy. Cause legit,
Yes.
like that moment where he gave her the what's it, the tears of Allah or something like that.
Yeah.
I was
Tears
like,
of Allah.
oh, I'd kill you, I'll stab you, and so. Oh,
No, he said he would
okay.
cut her throat.
So I'd
He
cut
would
your
cut her
throat.
throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Oh,
said he would cut your throat.
okay.
But again, right? But so for me, that was her opportunity to definitely be like, all right, this guy's crazy. I have to fuck him up. I have to step up to the plate. And at no point did she really do that. I think it was interesting that they gave her the final kill.
Mm.
Excuse me.
But
Because
I will say this. For this Largo, I'm actually impressed at how menacing they made him too, because
well, let's move on to the villain then. Everybody gave
oh,
their
it's true.
Bond girl. Yeah, move on to villain, Ramon.
I am impressed with Largo. I was happier with this Largo because he did seem quite menacing, and
Can I ask you a question? What did he do that made him menacing?
but he was very involved. Like everybody, so when they got the missiles, they reported to him.
Yeah, but
Famous statement.
yeah, but what
You captured the fish, put him on ice.
Yeah, but what did he
Uh,
actually do?
he was a better number one than like the other Largo to me, because once again, he's got his plan going. He's his underlings reporting to him. He's reported to Blofeld, who was awful in this. God say,
Yeah, seriously.
cliche of himself. Like
I don't know. I think Charles Dance was the worst Blofeld by far. At least this Blofeld didn't dress in drag.
Yeah, for sure. But they did not elevate that character in any way. They like he wasn't. The fact I actually wish they didn't show his face, so at least they could have still had that. He would still be mysterious, as opposed to he's like throwing parties and being like, let's watch the video of them succeed." Like,
but once again, this Largo seemed competent. He's got his facade. Everyone. Well, Felix shows up. Felix is like, Bond, you got it wrong this time. I don't think it's him. Like he's got his act together. He's got his act together in public on point. He's at his charity ball. He lets Bond get under his skin, but whatnot. Like he seems competent, like a proper villain he's got his real life. He's got his alibi on point. And then he's got his business, and then he's got his dirty side or his plan. And it seemed it all fit together, like him sailing around on the yacht, all these other things, to the point where even his plan was, the only reason Bond found out is because, I mean, like a true bad guy, he gave his girlfriend the keys or where to find him. But aside from that, like, pretty decent in what he was doing. Although I will say this, the movie cinematography in the very early part of the movie, they said, well, he's targeting the oil sector, and we know of a fault line which would cause everything to crumble. Why is it not guarded? But anyhow,
how convenient.
But I did feel Largo was quite menacing in this. Like on top of his game, on top of operations, on top of his game, on top of his alibi, on top of managing the rest of Spectre, where he was in charge of Fatima.
Mm-hmm.
So
But she was
I give him the
incompetent
points.
as well. So
He gave her every opportunity to succeed. But that's true too.
yeah, you should never give her the job because she didn't succeed.
Yeah. But I did like Largo.
So I'll go next.
Yep.
I mean, I see where you're coming from. I actually think that the reason why you think that he was menacing is because he was crazy.
Yeah.
It's fair.
And I didn't see. I saw it as just crazy. I saw him as poor middle management, and I have a serious problem with middle management because they are just worthless in my mind, and that's what he was. He was supposed to execute a job, and the weird thing about it is that like it's funny that Dave was like, what did he actually do? Because he didn't actually do anything. He was middle management. He was just giving people orders and having them execute it, and they didn't execute it. And him giving away, the Tears of Allah necklace, I genuinely did not see the point of that. There are so many things, there are so many tropes in this movie that
Here's
are
my
supposed to
issue.
be like,
Here's my issue with that. I agree with you. Up until, in theory, from what I'm understanding from it, is that this is something, the Tears of Allah, it was legend, so on and so forth. He found it himself. He found the key to finding it himself, which was the necklace or the amulet. So you need to infer this on your own, but didn't lead up. He found it, and that's the necklace. That's how he found the temple, but at the same time, he gave his girlfriend that.
so what you're saying is you think that he got the Tears of Allah necklace, he found it, and then he was like, okay, I've used it, I can give it away to my
Yeah,
girlfriend.
because that's the only reason that, as something with such, according to him, such a famous and such a reverent place,
Yeah.
why is there nobody else there? Or where they are killed? Where they are
Okay,
archaeologists?
I can see that. I can if you give me that premise, I can jump on board with it. I it worked contractively because I get where you're coming from, but it worked against him, and that was my big thing. You know how I feel about like competency and like people acting rationally.
Mm.
I mean, you can argue that's his girlfriend. He's in love with her. But that was the thing about
And
it
he
as
would
well.
have, that's the thing, he gave it to her not expecting that she would be like, okay, this is the peninsula where we are. Is this the reference to it?
Right.
Admittedly, it's not
Okay.
easy to figure out.
Yeah, I
So
would figure that out.
she's too stupid to think
Not
about
too
that,
stupid.
though, right?
Like, you would have to have that direct reference in order for it to like
Exactly.
trigger your mind.
So my thing about that is that I mean, as a movie tool, not being in reality, right? As a movie tool, the minute that I saw him give her that, I was like, okay, cool. This is gonna be the key to something. And
Yeah,
I
not
didn't
to
know
mention it
necessarily.
was literally the name of the Spectre operation.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a map, but I was like, okay, this is obviously a key to something. As just like a movie tool. I get where you're coming from, Ramon. I don't think that Largo acted like a real person in any way. He acted like a crazy person. He just nothing that he did seemed to hold any water. And the Largo before, I liked him because he was crazy, but like he was still trying to get stuff done. And I think my other problem is that I tie this Largo so much with what are they fighting against? What is menacing? What is the problem? And I really forgot for a little while that there were two warheads that they were trying to get back. And like I feel like if they would just like plop little things and maybe it's just because I wasn't that interested, but I really forgot. I was like, oh yeah, that's the point. That's the point. They're trying to get back these warheads and they're trying to like make sure that people don't die. But I forgot that because there was a lot of things that were happening and I was like, what's the point of this? It looks cool, but like, what's the point? So for me, this Largo, maybe the actor had a presence and he was interesting, but when I break it down, the character itself, I prefer the other Largo one. And this one, he was just a crazy guy. If they had made it all about the girl and all about his like crazy desire to own her or something, I would have believed that more than like what we got with the warheads and the oil. And
Fair.
I just wasn't interested. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I was not a fan of Lago in this movie. This is not a knock against Klaus. What's his name? Klaus Brandauer. I this is actually where I kind of thought the acting was a little shady, not really very good
Yeah,
on his part. And I think and I think
That's
I kind
fair.
of share John's sentiments that, he was just kind of crazy. I think they tried to make this character edgy, but to me, it just didn't work because it just didn't make sense at times. Like, for
just came
example,
off
he was having
creepy.
huh?
He just came off creepy.
Yeah,
Like very, very creepy.
yeah, or maybe just to me, even like just to make sense. Like, I mean, him and Bond would be having a conversation, and then all of a sudden, my man would be like, "All right, I gotta get back and do some." He would just cut. Then he would just cut the conversation off and be like, "All right, I'm gone, bye." And it's like that is not how a normal conversation should flow. Like,
Yeah.
so to me, it was like they were trying to make this villain, edgy by making him crazy, but it just wasn't believable. And I think they just went a bit too overboard with trying to make him crazy. Like, I think they just wrote the script bad. And I just didn't really like his character as a villain. Honestly, I wasn't that threatened by him.
Yeah.
I didn't think. I mean, I didn't think he had the upper hand. I mean, I guess he did have the upper hand on Bond a couple of times. But I guess I never really thought like, this guy, he's definitely gonna kill Bond.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Chris, because I was worried that he would do something to her. I was worried that he was going to slap her about. I was worried that he was going to get angry at her and like rape her or something. But at no point was I like, yeah, this crazy. It's like when there's a crazy person coming at you, right? Like sometimes crazy person comes at you and you're like, oh shit, you don't know what they're going to do and they're going to like attack you. But then sometimes the crazy person, they're so busy talking to like imaginary things on the floor that you don't even bother. You're like, oh, they're too crazy to like, they're not gonna, yeah, like, yeah, they're crazy. You don't know what they can do, but that's not a threat to me. They're just being crazy over there. I was worried for her, but I would never thought that like he would kill Bond. I agree with that.
Yeah. So so I didn't think he was well written in this movie, and I didn't think he was well acted in this movie. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
I didn't have a problem with the actor per se, but I think you hit the nail on the head. The script wasn't very good, and my problem with him is because while you were talking, I was kind of thinking of all the Bond villains up from Dr. No to now. And aside from Blofeld and Diamonds Are Forever, he would have to be the worst, just because the
Dave is so intense.
Bond never
Dave
felt
is so
threatened.
intent on ranking this movie the absolute worst.
Well, no,
Like,
I'm just trying to compare it to the other Bond movies because it's calling itself a Bond movie. So I'm going to compare it, and it doesn't compare, except Diamonds Are Forever, because I would put Charles Gray's Blofeld, that he was never threatening at all. This guy was never threatening, but the thing is, I still enjoyed his presence on screen. I enjoyed his scenes, but the most menacing thing he did was beat Bond at a video game.
Oh,
Like
that.
he didn't even beat Bond at the video game, and that was so.
I didn't even understand that. Like, what kind of video
Yeah.
game is that? I
Yeah.
did that.
Once again, like super rich, super crazy games, whatever. I just go
But
with the
there's a
stereotype.
difference. But there's a difference between like super crazy interesting games and I don't even. They were shooting squares. Whoever got the most squares won. And there were
That is a
missiles.
legit video game that people have paid money for.
Yes,
including
I get
myself.
that, right?
Really?
But it just
Wait,
like,
you played that game?
You played that game? I
Dave,
didn't-
how
but
have you
like,
not played
the
any
idea-
of these competitions? You've
but
not
the
played
I-
anything like that, Dave.
the idea of
Think
the
about
game,
it.
No, the idea of the game, I get, right?
This is
It's
like
just-
Gradius.
It's the way that they had
Competitively.
the way that they had it set up, and the you get a zap thing, and
Yeah.
there were too many things that were just like on the nose. You're fighting for a country, one, then you're fighting for the world, two, then you
I'm
are
surprised they did not play Britain, not gonna lie.
and the fact
for
that
the
they
other
had
ones.
2 bombs, 2 missiles that you could send off, and I was just like, you guys are a little too on the nose with this. Like, it's not. And the interface as well was just weird
Yeah.
because they had like the country, and then the country. It was just odd.
I couldn't understand. I personally couldn't understand how they were playing this game. Like, I was looking at the screen, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on in this game. To me,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I think you need something more simple there. Like, and I guess they had to do something different because maybe Thunderball did this where you had them in the casino playing against each other.
Yeah.
Did they do that in Thunderball?
When they first met, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I guess he couldn't do that again, but maybe they should have because that video game thing, to me, I don't know.
I would have had them play chess. I would have had them play.
Okay.
Chess. I would have had them play checkers.
That's
Another
okay.
another game. You know what the problem with the game for me was is that I couldn't follow the game in
Yeah.
terms of they
Yeah.
said the machine was like 80% damage or like and they were just calling out numbers, and that's how you knew who was winning. But when I was trying to track the numbers, they were just going up, and one was like staying the same, and that again was another indicator. But when you're looking at the visual, like I didn't understand what I
Yeah.
was looking at necessarily. So I was like, okay, this is
Silly.
weird.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I was like, all right, cool.
Maybe I've been just inferring a little bit more, but
No, I think that
you can tell
what,
when.
I think what it is, Ramon, is that like a lot of the stuff that you said, you gave it some thought, and you're trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's one of the things. There are 2 ways that you can go about that when you're making a film, is that there's certain things that you need to tell the audience so they can follow with you, and there's certain things that you leave up specifically to possibilities. So that,
Interpretation point of view.
yeah.
Mhm.
so that people can it's like, oh, that character died, but that character means something, blah blah blah, and they were trying to say something else. Bond isn't always the second one where you can leave things up to interpretation, and it not that it doesn't make sense, but that it makes it better because you leave it up to interpretation. When it's a spy movie, for us to follow, especially when things aren't the most realistic, you have to tell us certain things so we can follow along with you, and then we're like, okay, we can buy in more to the premise if you told us that this is what's going on, and not leaving and not telling us
I
certain
get it.
things.
I get that. But certain things like which are irrelevant, like they don't need to hold your hand through. And I guess this was once again. I thought it was supposed specifically on the nose and on purpose.
Okay.
But yeah. All right. So we good with
That
going,
was-
guys?
Largo, yeah.
Yeah. So almost finished. What one-liners now, guys? What are your thoughts?
One-liners, huh? Don't forget.
This movie had
Yeah.
some good one-liners.
That's
I
a
will
lie.
give it that.
It did
And-
not.
Hey, they had some good one-liners. I don't
They-
care what you say. That's one thing this
Dave,
movie did
lead
good.
it off.
It had some damn good ones.
Lead it off, Dave. Let's hear it. What's your favorite?
So Fatima Blush skis into Bond, gives her a hug. Oh no, I made you all wet. Yes, but my martini is still dry. Just how he delivered that line was so good. That's a great line. They had some great lines. Sean Connery delivered them like a boss.
I will agree. First half of the movie, lines are on point.
He was playing. I mean, Roger Moore delivers the lines like a boss, but Sean Connery was just like, I'm not gonna play Bond serious. I'm just gonna have fun, and he was delivering lines like a boss. Good lines. I'll give the movie that. Had some good ones.
All right, Chris. I see that smile. What's on your list?
Yeah. So mine is when he I think he met with Domino at Lago's charity event, and he took her to the bar to get a drink, and he was like, you know, I guess this harks back to an earlier scene in the movie where he was giving her a massage, and he asked her hard or soft, you know, what type of massage do you want? So now we're back at this scene at the bar, and he asked her again, hard or soft?
Yeah.
You know, what type of drink do you want? And she's like, she says soft, and then orders a double Bloody Mary with lots of Worcestershire sauce. And then Bond says, I would hate to think what you mean by hard. I don't know. I kind of like that one.
No,
I
it was a decent line.
It did set up. There were a couple of setups in there. What's yours, John?
Yeah, I would just go. I actually didn't enjoy the lines in this movie. Nothing made me laugh in this movie. The gratuitous sex and violence, just because that was so meta. It was just like, oh, that's genuinely what they're trying to do.
You and N have lines in these ones. It was they're really simple.
Yeah, that'll have to be mine because I appreciate it. That's the one line that like stayed with me, and I was like, the women were just used. I think there was one scene where Kim Basinger, she was wearing a top, and it was just like her nipples were like full see through, and I was like, cool. And I was just like, all right, well, this is the movie that we're gonna get. Just like lots of sex and lots of like action.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Hope that it is well. What about you? What was your favorite line?
Well, you know me, I am quite a sucker for the lowest common denominator, and that for this movie was when Bond escapes sharks and tugs on the line. And he's like, "Oh, you did say you were gonna catch me again."
Yeah, I somehow I knew that was gonna be your line. I don't know how, but I knew that was gonna be your line.
Delivery, the line itself, and the setup and the response, on point.
Well, I've been friends with you for several years, right? But I'm just like learning your type of sense of humor is it's very endearing. Like the things that you appreciate, they're just very funny.
As long as it's set up nicely, flows nicely, on point with the topic or the situation at hand, it's a perfect Bond line for me.
I think if I were watching this movie with you, I would appreciate that way more. I just really like the one line. This movie was just like, it was not a fun movie.
I mean, I would say like I think I agree with Dave. I thought it had some decent one-liners. It wasn't like the best ever, but
did any of them like make you laugh out loud?
Huh? Yeah, I did, but maybe not. I mean, not like gut busting, but
yeah.
You know, yeah, I did.
Like I used to laugh back in the day, like. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, the parts that made me laugh in this movie were not with the movie. Like the clip I sent you guys where
oh yeah, that could have been a Bond line in itself.
And then Bond is hiding behind the tree. That made me laugh because what? That doesn't make any sense.
She passes him, and then he.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, none of the lines made me go like, "Oh my god, that was terrible." Like maybe how I would go maybe in some Roger Moore's, or maybe some of Sean Connery's past movies, like none of them really made me cringe that hard. So I thought they
See,
did well.
For Your Eyes Only, when he threw the key down and was like, "Hope you have a car," that made me die. I loved that. Just the look on his face. Roger Moore just has a look, man. When he
Yeah.
delivers
Just
the
have a
line,
look.
oh,
It's like a hammy look.
Just have a look.
Man, is such a
Yeah.
ham.
It's rough.
It's true. Now, here's the wildly anticipated moment, guys. Let's start off your ratings. I'm gonna start with Dave now.
all right. I didn't find Sean Connery was bad. In terms of age, I don't find he looked too bad. He looked about the same, I think, in Diamonds. I think the jump from You Only Live Twice to Diamonds was more of a jump in terms of how he looked
I agree with
versus
that, actually.
Diamonds and now. And also just because Roger Moore I remember Roger Moore looking pretty damn old in Octopussy and A View to a Kill.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's going to be any different in those two movies. It's one of the reasons why I say I'm just looking forward to the Timothy Dalton movies now. I'm not really looking forward to the next two, but who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. I'm going off topic. This movie didn't really have a lot of good action. There's not really one good
It just
action scene I
seems-
can think of.
Motorcycle chase, dude. That was motorcycles. Even though
It
some
was
of that
alright.
stuff makes sense, but I actually liked it. That was good.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
alright because I hadn't seen
I'll
Bond in a
agree.
motorcycle before. But other than that, it was alright.
Oh, don't
Motorcycle
forget,
scene was
Bond jumps a
cool.
horse off a castle. How
Yeah, I
ridiculous is
hated
that?
that.
That CG.
Dude, that looked
oh,
that
God.
looked terrible.
No. No.
Oh my
Um,
god, so
yeah.
bad.
I just didn't. I didn't enjoy the action scenes that much. Parts of the movie did look beautiful, but I thought the Bahamas was better in terms of location. I thought Thunderball did it better in the Bahamas, uh, and and we're talking about a movie that is 20 years older than this one.
That
So
long.
yeah, yeah. So I mean that's not a good hit on the movie. Yeah, it was just all right. I can't say it doesn't feel like a Bond movie. And the thing is, it had a lot of potential when you think about what went behind it. You have the director of Empire Strikes Back. You have the original James Bond. The original crew is aging. One thing they did good is they acknowledged that Bond was getting older, which they've never done in the main series until Skyfall. They never mention his age. They never address it. In this movie, at least they did that. I'll give them props for that. But yeah, other than that, wasn't that good. It was just all right. I was like stunts. I'm trying to think of like good stunts. Can't think of any really. Nothing really stood out in this movie
Yeah,
to me
I admit
at all.
it did the cardinal sin of James Bond movie, and instead of doing a stunt, it did put in some CG, and ooh, does that break the immersion right there?
Like I'm thinking ahead. I haven't rewatched it yet, but I'm just comparing this to what I remember from Octopussy, and I I think I get more enjoyment from the first 3 minutes of Octopussy than probably this whole movie.
Yeah.
Because it's I remember the Octopussy opening is one of those mini adventures before that has nothing to do with the main plot, and I've always remembered Octopussy's opening as like one of my favorites. So yeah,
Well,
when we
with
get
this,
to that discussion. But yeah, so
with the stunts thing though, I mean, I do think that the motorcycle chase was pretty cool. The shark thing was, I don't know, man. Like, I still can't decide if I like it or not in my head.
yeah, but
And
compare that shark
they-
scene to the scene from For Your Eyes Only when they were stuck in the shipwreck. There was tension there.
No,
There was no tension
there
here.
was there.
It's not a
I
real shark scene. Like
I will
it
not.
came
Yeah.
out. I was like, oh.
I think that they were trying to go for this is cool. No one has ever seen this before, but it did not work out in their favor because it was just so fake and it was just so. I don't know. I actually, when I was watching it, like I was like, I really hope that like they didn't hurt any sharks while they were doing this. You know, like in the very beginning, I was like, yeah, I hope that no sharks were hurt. And then I could care less.
What about the
Same thing with
horse?
the horse. Yeah, same
Yeah,
thing with the horse. I was like,
they threw a horse off a building. I mean, not the part that's CGI, that's clearly CGI, but they actually threw a horse in the sea on its back. That landing scene is a real horse.
yeah,
saw
I
that.
don't
I saw
know how I
that.
feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
So anyway, my ranking, I gave Diamonds a 4. I will give this a 4. I rank it below Diamonds, but it is not that much worse than Diamonds. When I think about it, Diamonds still has the benefit of being a James Bond movie. It still feels like James Bond, even though I complained Diamonds felt trashy. It didn't feel classy. This movie
this movie
kind
was
of
definitely
continues
trashy.
that same trend, but Diamonds for me is the trashiest of the Bonds we've seen so far. This takes it a step further, so for me it is, yeah. But it's not that much worse. I still sort of enjoyed it. I enjoyed to see it, but I don't think I would ever watch it again, but never say never.
Again.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree with most of what he just said. I just think this movie was subpar, and there are two things, for me that I thought were interesting. It was I thought this movie had so much potential, and then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, because we did see this movie, we did see the good version of this movie already. Like,
Right.
there is potential there. It's just been had already. I don't know whose decision it was that they were like, you know what, this storyline, we're gonna revisit it, and that's what we're gonna do. I don't get why they did that in any way, because you just build a comparison, and I don't think that what they did would ever have amounted to this movie is better than that movie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ever. And that just makes me sad. I would give this movie like a 3 if I had to. I wanted to like it. I wanted to like it more than I did like it. And I gave it the benefit of doubt for a couple of things, but man, it was just an enjoyable movie to watch. And it's just very, when I break it down in my head, it's just very subpar. And that's what it comes down to.
That's fair.
It just sucks because this really is Sean Connery's, like, this is his last Bond, you know? And debatably, probably shouldn't have come back.
That's fair. That's fair. What do you think, Chris? You were saying something else, Ron? Or?
Yeah, I think I share the sentiments of John and Dave. This movie wasn't good, man. And I say that, like, the story, I mean, they had some plot holes in the story, and it was just, I just kind of took away from it. I thought it started off pretty okay. I was expecting it to be like, to just offend me from the beginning and just be completely ridiculous from the start, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. It was actually a nice spy movie for me about halfway, and then maybe when you got to like the motorcycle chase, then maybe it started to get a bit crazy, and some of the stunts started to just become a bit too ridiculous. It culminates with Bond jumping a horse off a castle.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just, come on. That just looked ridiculous. I can't help but compare this to Thunderball, because I mean, it's the same story.
You have to.
You have to, and it's just inferior in every way. The villain is just not. It's the villain is just not as likable, engaging, I think. Domino is not as memorable. Even Sean Connery's Bond, I mean, he at times seemed to enjoy doing this, and he seemed like he was glad to be back, but just his performance then at other times kind of just seemed flat, and like he was just going through the motions. So, I think this movie would have done. Maybe I would have regarded this movie higher if like Roger Moore had been doing a bad job as Bond, and I'm like, oh my God, I need Sean Connery to come back. I need this man back now, maybe I would have been happier, or maybe my thoughts on this movie would have been more positive. But in the end, I think I have to agree. I'm gonna rate this a 4. I'm really not sure if this is worse than Diamonds.
If you rated
I
it a
don't
4,
know.
you're rating it above Diamonds, just FYI.
Oh,
Oh, what was Diamonds? Was that a 3?
A 3, yeah.
Yeah, and I got drop this down to a 3 then. Like, because the second half of the movie really just was, it kind
Ratings
of
don't count here, Chris. It's fine. Ratings don't count here.
it got ridiculous. So yeah, I got to rate it a 3. Better than Diamonds. Ooh, I don't know. I think maybe I'll agree with Dave. I think Diamonds benefits from the fact that it's a Bond movie. It felt like a Bond movie. This was just a movie with they told you it was James Bond. You know, that was the funny thing. You know, they said he was playing James Bond and this is a James Bond movie, but it felt like Sean Connery was just playing somebody totally different.
That's
like he was
the
just
thing
playing
about
a
this.
spy in a movie.
I completely agree, Chris. It's like they had to tell you that it's James Bond, so you knew it's James Bond.
it was James
As
Bond
opposed to
007.
like,
Mm.
I think that if I were watching some other of the James Bond movies and you didn't tell me that it was a James Bond movie, I can pick up that it was a James Bond movie just in the way like the actor is acting and the storyline and like the things that happen are just very James Bondy, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this movie, like they had to tell you, hey, Sean Connery's James Bond again.
yes, yeah.
Mm.
What
So
about your one?
yeah, a 3.
It's funny because I watched this movie and not gonna lie, this was the one that I just for some reason remembered. And I
Okay.
watched this. I remember watching it specifically on like one of the movie channels, like maybe TNT or something like that. So I'm
Wow.
like, oh
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. So
That's surprising.
yeah, I watched it. Totally agree. Looking back at the cinematography and the way they shot it, it was like, oh, this is 20 years after when Sean Connery was born, and I'm like, clearly y'all were trying to shoot something that was supposed to be, you know, maybe a follow-on to me, a Sean Connery. It didn't work. Like it just didn't work. That being said, it wasn't a terrible movie in my book. Like I guess I was entertained watching it.
Yeah.
So
You know,
yeah. No, go ahead, John. Mm.
it like you said, if this came on HBO while I had the TV on and I was doing other stuff, I wouldn't turn it off. But
I
it's
probably
not a movie. Oh, cha. But it's not a movie that I would be like, oh, that's on. I'm gonna sit down here and watch that.
yeah.
Totally. But yeah. That being said though, I can't say that I did not enjoy it at all. So I guess I'd give it a 5.
Whoa! Wow.
Like it was
Oh.
I
Oh, I can't
I
believe
wouldn't have turned it off. I wouldn't have turned it off. It would just been like,
I would
oh, okay.
I would have turned it off either, but I would still give it a 3.
I
I'm not
I
gonna
should
lie,
have given it a
guys.
3. Oh no.
With this, not gonna lie, with this conversation, not being bad or anything, but I kind of did actually enjoy it than the 6 I gave last week. Just another level.
What?
So I was gonna give this a 6, but
What?
after discussing it, like I
I'm
agree.
so
Like,
surprised by you, Ramon, because I genuinely didn't think that any of the lines hit that sort of way that it was funny. I think that this movie tried to bring a little bit of, it's not camp. They tried to bring a little bit of humor to it, and I think
no,
that it
this
just
was a
failed
legit.
so hard.
If this fit in with any of Sean Connery's older work, I would be like, I could see it. It's not as bad as Diamonds in my mind to me, but I mean, I could see it. It could fit in as one of his mediocre Bonds, if it was that far back. But it wasn't, which is why it's so low. Like, but it was entertaining, I thought it was entertaining.
I want to say mediocre. I definitely think this movie is subpar. I really wanted to like this movie too because I like Sean Connery a lot, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't consider Roger Moore that great a Bond, and the fact that he pulled it out so hard in the last movie, and then to move on to Sean Connery, where it was just like, wow, yeah, no, you shouldn't have done that. It actually,
Mhm.
I lost respect for Sean Connery because he didn't just let it go. He was
He
like,
tried
no,
to
I can
pull it
still do
back.
this better. Yeah,
Mm.
and you can, and it's not just because
So
Sean.
I'm saying it is a terrible Bond movie, but it was a decent
Not a
movie.
bad
Well,
movie.
it
Yeah.
was just alright movie. Yeah.
This is the same thing that I was telling you before. Like I don't hate it. It's not like I will never watch that movie again. It's just
Mm.
it's
It's not a Bond.
also
It's not really a Bond.
it's not a Bond. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you call this movie Elliot Tyler and Sean Connery
He
was
was a
playing
spy.
another
I'd
spy
believe it too.
and he
I
played
would
another
believe it too.
spy, I would have been like, yeah, that's fine. Like that
Yeah.
is a fine movie.
Yeah.
As a Bond, it's just subpar.
That's fair. But
I just
I'm gonna give it a 5. Like I wouldn't have turned it off, or I wouldn't have I didn't fall asleep during it. It was like okay.
I definitely fell asleep. I fell asleep at least twice.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm down for not having this as part of the rankings because if we
Not
do,
even close.
it's above Diamonds, which I
Oh.
don't like.
Oh no.
Dave's got a vendetta. He's gonna pull a Sean Connery.
You know,
thing and
I was
Yeah.
looking at the scores. I was like, yes, The thing is, I went first and gave it a 4. I shouldn't have done that. Should have given it a 3.
But I mean,
But then,
Dave, if you were semi-entertained, like
yeah, I mean, it's not that much worse than Diamonds. So I mean,
Again, guys,
even if this is a 3.5, which but we're not doing 0.5s yet.
mm.
It's still like a 4. It's closer to a 4
And
than it is a 3.
it's funny because Sean Connery does have the Bonds with lowest scores right now.
seriously. If you
In
count
terms
this
of
as a Bond.
average, well, if you
Yeah,
don't
what's the last 3?
if you do not count this, the average Sean Connery score is.
No, I mean like the lowest
Not the
rated
average.
ones.
No, what are the 3 worst Bond movies?
Oh,
that you've ranked so far?
the only 2 Bond movies that are below 5 are Diamonds and Never Say Never Again.
Mm.
But Sean's average, just counting the actual Bond movies, not this one, he's averaging a 7.1, and Roger Moore is averaging a 7.2.
Yeah, and you know
Oh.
that's gonna go down with it.
That's gonna go down
Okay.
because Octopussy and A View to a Kill, I'm sure won't do well. The thing is, Roger Moore had Man with a Golden Gun and Moonraker, which were in the 5s. Sean didn't have any in the 5s. He only had 3
Man
8s
with the
and
Golden
2
Gun
7s.
was a 5 in the 5s.
Yeah. But Roger Moore had a 9. Sean didn't have a single 9. The only 2 9s on our list so far are Live and Let Die and On Her Majesty's.
Fair.
It's still amazing to me how much I enjoyed For Your Eyes Only. I genuinely, I cannot believe that I enjoyed that movie so much. And I was thinking back on it, I was just like, it's just a fun movie for me to watch. It's so weird. I really think that we should do a comparison, like watch
I think we should.
Moonraker and watch this again.
I think we should end this now. Signing off because I technically would lower my rating too, but from last week. But anywho, and with that, your host signing out.
You're gonna get your chance, Ron. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your chance.
I think it's funny that the last movie we all agreed on was Live and Let Die. That's why Live and Let Die and On Her Majesty's are rated so high because they're the only 2 movies we really all agreed on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Every other movie is like we have difference of opinions, except Dr. No. We all agreed Dr. No was a really good start.
Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome start. Such a good movie.
Well, we agreed on Diamonds too.
Oh yeah.
The Graham was terrible. Yeah.
But the last one was Live and Let Die, right?
The last one we
All
kind of
agreed on.
yeah,
For your reason.
pretty much.
I feel
yeah.
like if For Your Eyes, most of us agreed on that too. It's just some of us liked it more than the others.
Hello, Ramon just said he was gonna lower it to a 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
I legit.
two
I
nines
kind of
and a
enjoyed
5.
this
That's
more than that, actually.
that's a big difference.
I don't
Yeah.
get that. I don't get how you could rate this movie Never Say Never.
And with that, guys, signing off.
You a hater. See you later.
Cheers.